If you can get me a charger, Mom, for this one. Yeah. There should be a long one somewhere. Okay, I think are we good? Are we back up?
Yes.
All right.
Wait, you was looking at the door. You looked at you got your
It's
mom
got me
going
the
in
way.
and out. Yeah.
Okay, let me turn it around.
You got your mom doing she walked out the door.
Okay. We don't want it that way. We want it this way. How's that?
That's good.
Can we see the screen
We
behind
can
me?
see, yeah, we see your
Okay.
hand. We see you finna sit
Give me a
down.
cube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where's the cube at?
They're back.
All right. Sorry about that. It's troubleshooting, figuring out the right way. Then get it right. We're gonna get it right with this camera. It works. We gotta make sure we get a unexhaustible, plug-inable battery. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. We'll do it later. All right. So we were talking about Saul and his cognitive dissonance. And Jonathan going over. I didn't keep going, so what we're picking up right here is exactly where we left off from the last video. I immediately stopped when I saw this over here pause, so you guys are right back on track with us. Okay, so we talked about Saul sitting under the tree and doing pretty much nothing while the Philistines are out here running them up. Okay? So this is where it gets real interesting. Verse 3. And Ahiah, the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, Yahuwah's priest in Shiloh, wearing an ephod, and the people knew not that Jonathan was gone. Why is one of Eli's sons sitting under the tree with Saul instead of Samuel? Right? Wasn't the... What is... It's probably... There's no volume on the phone. Fine? Okay. All right. So you have Eli's descendants chilling out with Saul, but didn't Yah say that the covenant or the working relationship for this king was supposed to be between Saul and Samuel? Right? Wasn't that how the whole experience? And you went to Samuel and he told you where your father's donkeys were. And then he said, you're going to 7 days and I'm going to be the one and I'll come up and sacrifice. So you done got your own priest now too? Oh, Saul. So last week we talked about this thing about reminding myself to look at this page. And now we're here. So I'm going to just give you a brief overview. I'm going to read almost exactly what I read last week. But I'm going to show you that there's a form of cognitive dissonance that Saul is doing in this very moment. In the field of psychology, cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort or psychological stress experienced by a person who simultaneously, so at the same time, two or more contradictory, those are opposite, beliefs or values or ideas. This discomfort is triggered by a situation in which a person's belief clash person. I have something I believe, I'm presented with something new, and it makes me feel uncomfortable because it goes against what I previously believed. When confronted with facts that contradict, this is not opinions. This means literal things that prove you are literally wrong. When confronted with facts that contradict personal beliefs, ideals, and values, people will find a way to resolve the contradiction in order. In a theory of cognitive dissonance, one of the psychologists proposed that human beings strive for internal psychological consistency in order to mentally function in the real world. A person who experiences internal inconsistency tends to become psychologically uncomfortable. And let's try this. I see on your phones. Now. All right, it should pop up now if you refresh. Okay.
There we go. You good?
Woo.
It's okay.
Okay, so I was reading, if it got choppy, which it may have, I was reading a clip on cognitive dissonance. I will literally post that in the comments for anybody that got disconnected. But what we're talking about is person with cognitive dissonance doing things or avoiding social situations or contradictory information. And so in Saul's case, he's given information flat out from Samuel. And instead of repenting, like we said, breaking the covenant with the self, breaking the covenant with wherever you have previously bound yourself to, and returning and waiting to hear from Yah, he decides in this case he's going to have another priest as his buddy, right? Because it's mentioned here. It wouldn't have been mentioned here if it was something that was not a thing. But this priest is from Shiloh. They're in Gibeah, meaning this priest has come over to this particular place. Okay, so he didn't have Saul. He didn't go after Samuel. Oh man, we're getting ready to go to war. We're sitting here. We need direction. Let me go get Samuel and talk to the man that Yah has been talking to all this time. So one of the things that happens in cognitive dissonance are there's like different things that different people do to psychologically, like it said, rectify the dissonance. One of the ones from last week, and I'm going to read it again because it's literally where Saul is, and he's going to remain there through the rest of the story, is belief disconfirmation. The disconfirmation, contradiction of a belief, ideal or system of values causes cognitive dissonance that can be resolved by changing that belief under contradiction. So you can change it, right? Yet, instead of affecting change, the resultant mental stress restores psychological consonance to the person. So if they say pretty much this, the thing that I heard was a misperception, rejection, or I refute it, then I'm fine. I can just say if what I heard was not what I heard, he must have misspoke, then I can still continue on the same path that I'm on, which is exactly what he did. This is the part where it directly relates to Saul. The person will then seek moral support from people who share the contradicted belief or acting to persuade other people that the contradiction is unreal. So that's literally where Saul's going to be the rest of this time. I know what y'all heard. Let's gather together. See, I have a priest. We're fine. Right. We're here. Everything's good. Because that's what he's telling himself. Right. Okay. Chapter 14, verse 4. And between the passages by which Jonathan sought to go over unto the Philistines' garrison, there was a sharp rock on the one side, and a sharp rock on the other side. And the name of the one was Bozez, and the name of the other Seneh. The forefront of the one was situated northward over against Michmash, and the other southward over against Gibeah. And Jonathan said to the young man that bare his armor, Come, and let us go over unto the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that Yahuwah will work, and in this case, it's not for us, in the sense of Yah's going to work for them, but like with us. Work with us, for there is no restraint to Yahuwah to save by many or by few. Does Jonathan not just now become like your favorite character after Samuel thus far? He has the spirit. So I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit because I need you guys to keep this in your mind. Jonathan is getting ready to become David's absolute best friend in the whole entire world. So we need to really, really look at the personality and the heart of Jonathan to see why their hearts or their souls are then knit together. Right. So there's a buzzword that came up here that made me go, man, these two guys are like brothers from another mother, brothers from another father. David David actually, and like I think one chapter later, is gonna say the exact same thing. 2 chapters. He says, "Why are you guys afraid of these uncircumcised Philistines? They're about the same age, right? Growing up in 2 different areas, same thought pattern. Where Jonathan's like, oh, y'all scared? I'ma go, right? David was the same way. All y'all sitting down here scared of the Philistines. I'll go, because he's saying, I trust Yah. While all of you guys are sitting over here under trees and worrying about, it wasn't his pride, it was his confidence in Yah. Right? So he's like, oh, these uncircumcised, they're not even worthy. Right. Let's just go. Right. So you can see the mindset, and you can see a person like David, like, that's who I'm going to roll with. I'm going to roll with a person like Jonathan. Right? Okay. So you get Jonathan, and he talks about the uncircumcised Philistines. He has the same spirit, if you will, as David. They share a kindred spirit. That's what that idea of being knit together was. Jonathan wasn't afraid. And he goes, for it is not for Yah work for us, for there is no restraint unto Yah to save by many or by few. And his armor bearer said unto him, do all that is in thine heart, turn thee, behold, I am with thee according to your heart.
Hey.
So he knew his heart was a good place. He's like, man, if that's where, if you feel like the Father's in your heart in that direction, I'm going. What does that mean in this sense? Because remember, we'll learn how close to close, this is close to close combat, hand to hand, close quarter combat. And he literally is saying that I trust you enough to die with you.
Right.
Like,
don't leave me wrong.
right, because I'm not letting you go by yourself. So I guess if you sure, then we sure, and then we die, we just die.
Right, yeah.
That's how the relationship between Jonathan and his armor bearer was. He didn't need a bunch of men following him. He didn't need to try to convince other people, man, come on, you guys can do it. He's like, no, I'll roll with two that are confident and that trust me, then 600 that'll sit under a tree and try to formulate a plan on how they're going to operate in disobedience to me. Okay? And his armor bearer said unto him, do all that's in your heart. Verse 8, then said Jonathan, behold, we will pass over unto these men, and will discover ourselves unto them. So Jonathan already had a plan. He had to sit back. He was like, okay, how can this? He was like, oh, you gonna go? Okay, here's the plan. Okay, he said, we'll discover ourselves to them. What that means is the Hebrews have been hiding. So he's like, we're gonna come out in our holes. It's just gonna be us. Just two of us. And not threatening, right? Because if you come with 600 men, they're like, oh, you trying to approach me. Jonathan already thought it out. I don't want everybody to go. I know. If it's just a couple of us, they're not going to see anything, because remember, the Philistines did have interaction with the Hebrews. So they weren't thinking they were coming to fight. They're probably thinking they were coming to sharpen their tools or trade or come worship their false gods like some of the Hebrews did. They didn't have a reason to suspect anything. Okay, so he says, if they say unto us, tarry, we will come to you, then we will stand in our place, and we will not go up to them. We're like, nah, we good. Right? He said, but if they say, come up unto us, then we will go up, for YHWH hath delivered them into our hand, and this shall be a sign unto us. I love this. Right? Good. So, and both of them discovered themselves unto the garrison of the Philistines. So it's like a, their wall, their pillar that's set up, and they have their tower where they're guarding. And the Philistines said, behold, the Hebrews come forth out of their holes where they have hid themselves. And the men of the garrison answered Jonathan and his armor bearer and said, come up to us, and we will show you a thing. And Jonathan said unto his armor bearer, he looked over him like, he said, come up unto his armor bearer, come up after me, for YHWH has delivered them into the hand of Israel. And Jonathan climbed upon his hands and upon his feet, and his armor bearer after him, and they fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer slew after him. So Jonathan kills the first one coming up, and the armor bearer came over the thing, killing the rest of them. And that first slaughter which Jonathan and his armor bearer made was about 20 men, within, as it were, a half acre of land which a yoke of oxen might plow. Imagine 20 men and 20 guys and 2 other men, and a half acre of land is like most people, if you live, it's like a front yard. No, it's like from the front to the door? Nope. Like half of that. Half of what our front yard is. So if you lived in, probably before they started making things a lot smaller, it'd probably be the average person's backyard. If you have a backyard that has like a little bit of land in it, I would say if that's probably 100 and something feet square. Like, it's not a big space. Like, it's enough space that if you were doing something with 22 people and a half acre of land and you were fighting, you couldn't really move around with it. Like, it wasn't like you could run. If 20 men surrounded you, martial arts movie, that's coming to my mind. Okay. You know, they have the men, they're all surrounded, they're all fighting, like one guy goes this way and they're coming from every direction. That's the kind of fighting scene you're thinking about. Whoa. Okay? And, they whooped him. And there was trembling in the host in the field and among all the people, the garrison and the spoilers, They also trembled, and the earthquake, so it was a very great tremble. There was so many of them, and they were all afraid. They're like, what is going on here? Like, what is happening over here? And it's two Hebrews just wreaking havoc, right? Going ham. Going ham. And the watchmen of Saul and Gibeah and of Benjamin looked. So they're up. So Saul has these watchmen by the pomegranate tree looking. They're like, where all the people go? We were sitting here, and there was a bunch of them, and now there's none. And they went out beating down one another. That's the Philistines. Then said Saul unto the people that were with him, number now, and see who has gone from us. So it's like, check. Somebody missing. What happened? Is everybody here? What's going on? Right? And when they had numbered, behold, Jonathan and his armor bearer were not there. Oh, Jonathan done left. Okay. And Saul said unto Ahiah, that's the priest, bring hither the ark of Yah. You still
tampering.
Bring hither the ark of Yah. We already saw how that went bad.
Right. Ain't gonna cut it out.
For the ark of Yah was at the time with the children of Israel. So at this time they had the ark, right? And it came to pass when he does the same thing to Phineas and
the son.
And Abinadab.
Yes, the same thing they did. So it came to pass when Saul talked unto the priest that the noise that was in the host of the Philistines went on and increased. So they still fight. And Saul said unto the priest, withdraw thine hand. And Saul and all the people that were with him assembled themselves, and they came to battle, and behold, every man's sword was against his fellow, and there was a very great discomfiture. Moreover, the Hebrews that were with the Philistines before that time, which went up unto the camp from the country round about, even they also turned to be with the Israelites. So remember, they had Israelites they had kidnapped the other people, and they had people who got the smiths and the people that were working. They turned from within. So Jonathan's zeal incited them. Yeah, they were like, oh, it's fighting time. Oh, we can hide now. We can under, but now we got a little reason to fight. So then the fighting, he didn't even have to get men. Where they still tearing. They're like, bring on. What should we do? And they're over here fighting, right? You know your son's over there. You ain't moved. No. Like most people, if you knew your son, I just gotta go. Let's roll. Jonathan, let's go. No, he's like, can you bring the ark?
Can you go?
And then you have the men in there that are like, oh, okay. So Yah had supplied, if you will, an army for Jonathan
already in
the camp of the Philistines. Right? Okay, so Saul's still waiting. So he tells the priest, withdraw your hand, and Saul and all the people that were with him assembled themselves. All right, forget it. Let's go. And they came to battle, and behold, every man's sword was against his fellow, and there was a great discomfiture. Moreover, the Hebrews that were with the Philistines before that time, which went up with them into the camp from the country round about, even they also turned to be with the Israelites that were with Saul and Jonathan. Likewise, all the men of Israel which had hid themselves in Mount Ephraim, when they heard that the Philistines fled, even they also followed hard after them in battle. So Yahuwah saved Israel that day, and the battle passed over unto Beth Haven. Okay? And so this is where it gets real interesting. So it's like, it's good. Jonathan goes out, he does his thing, Yah works with him, and it was good. It was a perfect day, if you will. Like, everything ended seemingly great. Then it goes downhill. And the watchmen of verse 24. And the men of Israel were distressed that day. Wait, what? Wait, they're distressed. What happened? For Saul had adjured the people, saying, cursed be the man that eateth any food until evening, that I may be avenged of my enemies. Who are your enemies? Who are you? We fasting for you?
Right.
What?
What's that about?
You're something else. I may be avenged of my enemies, so none of the people taste any food. So look at, even the men that were with Saul, though, were down for him, though. No. All right, we fasted for you, then, man. Okay, right? And all they of the land came to a wood, and there was honey upon the ground. And when the people were coming to the wood, So now these men are coming this way because they were with Saul, and Jonathan's out
People
here, so
coming.
they get ready to kind of like, they'll meet up in the same space, kind of think of it like that. And there was honey upon the ground. And when the people were coming to the wood, behold, the honey dropped. But no man put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath. Okay, this is a land flowing with milk and honey. This is a real thing. This is a real place.
Right.
Honey just dropping in the forest. Like, it's and they feared. But Jonathan heard not when his father charged the people with the oath. Wherefore he put the end of his rod that was in his hand and dipped it in the honeycomb and put his hand in his mouth, and his eyes were enlightened. Have you ever been hungry?
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten something sweet?
Like,
And it's just like, you just
Yeah.
feel like, oh, woo! Like, I am good. Have you ever been
Right.
fasting or something?
Yeah.
And like, I'm just going to have a little bit of tea or a little bit of just something sweet. Just
And
kind
it'd
of,
be like, ooh.
orange juice is like the perfect thing. Like, you like really hungry, I'm just having a glass of orange. You'd be like, ooh, okay, I can be good.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's literally, it is a thing. And he meant like, he was just like, whoo, I feel so much better. I've been fighting. We're pursuing the enemy, so my mind's not on eating. And then Yah puts me in this place where there's honey.
To restore my
Yes.
energy.
Okay. And so then answered one of the people and said, your father straightway charged the people with an oath, saying, cursed be the man that eateth any food this day. And the people were faint. So, I'm going to read through it and I'll go back to my notes because it gets intense. Okay, so then Jonathan said, my father hath troubled the land. See, I pray you how my eyes have been enlightened, because I tasted a little of this honey. How much more, if haply the people had eaten freely today of the spoil of their enemies, which they found? For had there not been now a much greater slaughter among the Philistines? And they smote the Philistines that day from Michmash unto Aijalon, and the people were very faint. And the people flew upon the spoil, and took sheep and oxen and calves, and slew them on the ground, and the people did eat them with the blood.
Oh.
Then they told Saul, saying, behold, the people sin against YHWH, and that they eat with the blood. And he said, you have transgressed. But he didn't just go.
Wow.
He said, roll a great stone unto me this day. And Saul said, disperse yourselves among the people, and say to them, bring me hither every man his ox, and every man his sheep, and slay them here, and eat, and sin not against YHWH in eating with the blood. And all the people brought every man his ox with him that night, and slew them there. I'll pause for a second, because they would have never sinned if you would have never instituted a fast during battle. A fast, it was an unrighteous fast. Because, see, Saul had enemies because Saul was disobedient. Israel has no enemies when Israel's obedient. They're only enemies of Yah, and Yah fights your battles. Right. So who's your enemy? Samuel? Who was your enemy? You scared the Philistines.
Yeah. Right. He became enemies with Yah.
And then Jonathan wasn't even there. And so there's a difference between an oath that's made where a person is present for an oath. And a person's not present for an oath. Jonathan didn't know. He was doing Yah's work. He started the battle. He did his part, right? So the word here is the word Shabbat. Shin, bet, ayin. Let me get a pen. Shin, bet, ayin. Okay. So it literally means to separate the house to experience. So it separate from the body to experience something.
Right.
That's like the idea of what the oath is. And so this oath was an oath of fasting. But an oath can be a separation to experience. It can be an oath of, okay, I'm separating from myself, or I'm taking myself away from, out of my comfort zone so that we can come to an agreement. So before you say, okay, we'll make this oath today. Standing before you, I make an oath between me and Yah, in order to get us on the same page. It also means to submit to Yah. So separating so that you can to see, experience, or focus on Yah. Sheva or Shabbat is also the word for complete. It means to come to a complete understanding of something. That's the purpose of this separation or this oath. A person that swears has to have just cause and a right to perform all the portions of the oath. Okay? So if I say we're going to swear that, like Esau, that you, or Jacob and Esau, swear this day that you won't pursue me and that there will be peace between our houses. I have the power to enforce and make sure that oath comes to be. It's my house, it's my family. I tell my sons, don't pursue, You do the same thing with yours. We have the right to make that oath. You can't make an oath about something you have no control over.
Right.
Especially you can't make an oath with somebody that's not there, because how do they know they're bound by the oath? Yah doesn't even do that. And that's why in every generation, we are given the opportunity to enter into the covenant. I made the covenant with you when you weren't there a long time ago, but I'm going to make sure that I show myself to you and bring you into the covenant in your generation, so that you know that the covenant I made here was with you, but you have to agree in this time to be a part of the covenant with your forefathers, right? It's not by proxy. You have to commit and have an action with it. So Saul making a covenant, right, or making an oath, or binding people to something that weren't there. How? It's based on mutual agreement because of divine power. If Yah does it, then you're bound to it, and then He's going to show you, and then give you the opportunity to respond, right?
Makes sense.
This type of oath takes that active participation of a person involved in the oath. Yah is also the binder of the oath. So you can't go into, say something like he said, a fast, and Yah not be in the midst of it. It's about you. You have people fasting for you. That's superstition. And that's where the superstition part comes in this. You think that fasting somehow going to get you results in something where Yah's not in the midst. So, okay, I'm going to fast to have this job that I know Yah told me I'm not supposed to have.
What?
You're just going to be hungry.
Yeah.
Right? You might lose a little weight. You might feel better.
Hungry.
But that's not Yah's desire for you. So you've gone into a fast for nothing. A lot of times fasting is practiced that way. And Maury talked about fasting last week, so I'm not going to labor in that area. But this idea that you had them fast for you, for self, for pride, so that I can be avenged of my enemies, so that I can be lifted back up in the eyes of the people. See how that looks? Not fasting so that I can fast for me while I repent. No, fast for me so that so I'm avenged in the sight of my enemies.
See, a thing that our resident is doing right now.
Yeah.
The wall.
Huh?
Shutting down the government.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Because I can't get my way.
Right. So then you guys need to get on board with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so he says, it's all bad. So he says, what verse was I in? Give me a perfect. Oh, we're here. So he builds
29, 30.
Oh, he slew the 8 of the oxen.
We're on 36.
We're on 34. 30. Well,
6.
34. So he says they were eating with the blood, and he said, "Bring every man your oxen." He slew them there. So he tells them, "All right, you guys are sinning. Bring up these oxen, but you didn't take responsibility for why.
Causing them.
They were freaking hungry and famished, and they literally just were like eating their. I don't think that say they ate it with the blood. They didn't kill it right. Period. Whether they ate it raw, which would just be like creepy, or whether they just like killed it, stabbed it, and then just cut off pieces of meat and then cooked it. That's not right, because I know people are like, I'm not like PETA, I eat meat. But there's a proper way to kill an animal.
Right.
And there is a relationship between man and animals and there's a relationship of respect. So if you're going to take something's life, you need to take it a certain way so that it's also pleasing to the Father.
Right.
Does that make sense? And so just falling upon it, stabbing it, cutting off a piece of meat, and just, it was barbaric. And it was not in any way a representation of how Yah had set aside how animals were supposed to be killed, where, and then what the portion of animals, because even the animals that you ate, even if it wasn't for temple sacrifice, even the general eating of something that was common, you were still supposed to reverence and respect and pull apart certain parts and eat. You're still not eating the fat. You're still not eating the liver and all that stuff was still off limits, even though it wasn't sacrificed in the temple. It was a common sacrifice, not a holy temple sacrifice, but still a sacrifice. Okay? And he says, so then Saul builds an altar. So the reason why this happened, it didn't happen because the men, it did happen because they were hungry, but it also happened because Samuel wasn't there. Had Samuel been there, Samuel would have taken care of the sacrificing according to the way that was in the temple, because Samuel had priest practice.
So
and then he would have known what to do. He would have been preparing to feed the people who went out to battle, because he would have been there. Or he would have been on his way there, right?
Told Saul not to do that. Where he did what did Saul do? He told the people to have a fast.
Yeah.
Maybe Samuel would have said, "Hey,
Hey,
you can't do that."
No,
you can't do
Samuel
that.
would have been fast. Samuel would have been fast.
Samuel would have been right. You would have had
For
somebody
everybody.
fasting for you,
Right.
That's my.
Instead of
You
what-
have an intercessor.
So now
Correct.
you try to get the
This is,
people to
because
do it.
intercession.
Right.
because now the person that's supposed to be rolling with you and covering you, you have no covering. Your covering has been removed.
Right.
You're not covered, and you can feel it. So you're trying to get the people to cover you, but they're not in a spiritual. They're not in that place that you were in. Can't have a Haya do it. This line's been rejected. Yeah, I said I have this person in place for you for this time. Okay, so, and then verse 35. So Saul builds an altar unto YHWH. The same was the first altar that he built unto YHWH. And Saul said, "Let us go down after the Philistines by night and spoil them until the morning light." Now he bold. "And let us not leave a man of them." And they said, "Do whatsoever seemed good unto thee." Then said the priest, "Let us draw near hither unto Yah." So the priest is like, "Well, wait. Let us ask Yah what we should do. Now, hold on now, right?" And Saul asked counsel of Yah, "Shall I go after the Philistines? Wilt thou deliver them into the hand of Israel?" But he answered him not that day. And Saul said, "Draw ye hither all the chief people, and know and see wherein the sin hath been this day." Why is y'all not speaking to me? Somebody done sinned in here. Somebody done sinned in here. You ain't talking to me. See how his cognitive dissonance is now making him crazy.
Yes.
Somebody done sinned.
And he don't even know it's him.
Whew. Verse 39. "For as YHWH liveth, which saveth Israel, though it be in Jonathan my son, he shall surely die." Why Jonathan gonna die? What Jonathan gonna do with any of this? But there was not a man among all the people that answered him. They were like, "Oh, I ain't saying nothing," because they knew that Jonathan had tasted the honey. They're probably starting to think like, "Okay, he called the fast, and he said if people eat of it, they're gonna be cursed." But Jonathan ate of it. And is this why y'all? So he has the people spooked. They're all superstitious. They're all in this superstitious space that you think that by fasting for him and then Jonathan eating honey that he didn't hear about not being able to eat, that now Yah's not answering Saul. So Saul is playing a game on the minds of the people, knowing he's not talking to you because he ain't talking to you. He ain't talking to you. Somebody else is crazy. He probably would answer. It's you. Right. And he don't talk to you. He talks to Samuel, and Samuel talks to you. So he said, even if it's Jonathan, he gonna die. And nobody answered him. Verse 40, "Then said he unto all Israel, But be ye on one side, and I and Jonathan my son will be on the other side." So immediately, you see, Jonathan went out to battle. Jonathan does this thing. So he thinks it's Jonathan. So immediately, it's between him and Jonathan. Just like Jonathan thought, like, "Dang, I gotta die." Like, he's like, "I knew this. I didn't want to tell you I was going."
Right.
So he was like, "I already know it's between me and you." Like, if you didn't even, why Jonathan? Why you gotta bring Jonathan and dying into it? Because remember, in his mind, in his cognitive dissonance, he probably is already thinking, who is this person that's coming to, and if it's in the idea of heirship. So you're like, all right, it gotta be you, because we the only two leaders, right? Here, you left, I was here. They must have did something wrong, right?
Wow.
So Jonathan just like, "All right, Dad." So, and the people said unto Saul, he said, "You guys be on one side, and me and Jonathan will be on the other side." And the people said unto Saul, "Do what seemed good to you." So I roll, okay. Therefore Saul said unto the YHWH of Israel, "Give a perfect lot." So now which one? Let the lot fall where it should.
Right.
And it says, and Saul and Jonathan were taken. So, but the people escaped. So it was, he literally, like, if lots were cast, if they cast, like, almost like throwing dice, like a luck of the draw, it fell out that way. So Yah is like, even like, all right, it's between y'all two. Yeah. Right? And Saul said, "Cast lots between me and Jonathan." And Jonathan was taken. Right? So Jonathan is removed. And then Saul said, "Tell me what you have done." Why does it have to be him. If Jonathan was taken, you're left, sir.
Whoa.
It's you.
You don't see it, son.
Not him. You. Him. You are the issue. Not Jonathan.
But that's not how
But he didn't see it like that.
No.
No matter how it felt, it was not going to be his fault.
Has blinded him.
And he said, what have you done? And Jonathan told him and said, I did but taste a little honey with it. Because he knew, like he's thinking, with the end of the rod that was in my hand, and lo, I must die? Like, I'm supposed to die now?
Mm-hmm.
And Saul said, God do so more. And God do so and more also, for you shall surely die, Jonathan. He's like,
again, for eating honey?
Right.
All this I just did, and I'm going to die for eating honey. And
the people said unto Saul, shall Jonathan die, who hath wrought this great salvation in Israel? Yah forbid, as YHWH liveth, there shall not one hand of his hair fall onto the ground, for he hath wrought with, he has worked with Yah this day, so that people rescued Jonathan, and he died not. Then Saul went up from following the Philistines, and the Philistines went to their own place. They said, are you out of... So the people was just like, absolutely not. No way, no way.
All of this.
Right, you are trying to tell me that today, Yah's telling you that you're supposed to kill him for eating honey. There is no lawful justification for what you're doing. So what happened with Saul, and it's funny because Jonathan got to say the same thing when his father told the people not to eat for that day. He said, my father has troubled you all.
Yes, he did.
What does that mean? It says, he has brought trouble and caused destruction on you. And why did you follow it? Why did you follow him? Because you didn't have to. There's nothing that says that when a person goes into a fast, you gotta do it too. He should be fasting for himself.
Yeah.
Not you. And so that was his thing. Like, you guys knew better, but you went along with it. Okay, but there's nothing in Torah that says that when you fast, I have to fast. Right. As a nation, as a leader, if I had heard it and I agreed to it, of course, I wasn't even here. Mm-hmm. Right? So, and had Jonathan been there, he probably would have. Right. But the way it worked out and how Yah used him, he wasn't. And so Saul was trying to be in this situation, judge, jury, and executioner. Mm-hmm. In this instance, and was not in the position to do so. You are not the judge, the jury, and the executioner. There's a way in Torah that's carried out. If there's an offense, somebody violates a law, then this should be brought to a specific person. It should be judged. Samuel was the judge of that time. Right. So Samuel would have judged that matter and seen if what Jonathan did was worthy of death. Mm-hmm. So Saul had put himself in a position of priest, king, judge, and executioner. Right. His word was not higher than the word of Yah, and the people understood that when they proclaimed, you know what, you can take it too far. You're not killing Jonathan. No. And so, again, his pride is deflated, so he just leaves the battlefield. Go. He just left. He just left from fighting the Philistines. So you didn't think about the fact that Yah has given you the ability to pursue your enemies, and you have victory, and we should reform. You should no. He just leaves. I ain't even fighting no more. Then if they gonna choose him, see that kind of like just immediately deflated. Because remember, we get a character of Saul as well that he has a scary spirit. Remember when he was hiding amongst the armor? Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So there's this thing where he's fragile. Mm-hmm. He gets an easily wounded ego, but he also gets really, really mad and really, really inflated as well. Okay. Insolent pride. Yes. Right. So he says, fasting only works when you're in the will of Yah. We talked about that. And instead of believing that it was him, he blamed it on Jonathan. So Saul had a higher regard for people obeying his oath than he had for the oath that he made with Yah. He was getting ready to kill Jonathan for eating honey because he told people to fast. But Yah didn't kill you when he told you to wait on Samuel. So you're in such a blinded rage that you don't even see that what you're doing to him is the very thing that Yah could have done to you. And you're not giving it to him. But then you see how that he's just the pride has completely blinding him. Like he couldn't see it. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm wounded. And now this is how I'm going to act. And it literally. And at the end, the people all walked away from him. They're like, you know, you've gone too far. This is where we draw the line. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Saul took the kingdom over Israel and fought against all his enemies on every side, against Moab and against it. So it's going on to tell you about his military leadership. against all his enemies, against Moab, and against the children of Ammon, and against Edom, and against the kings of Zobah, and against the Philistines. And whithersoever he turned himself, he vexed them. And he gathered a host, and smote the Amalekites, and delivered Israel out of the hand of all that spoiled them. Now the sons of Saul were Jonathan, Ishui, Melchishua, and the names of his 2 daughters were these: the name of the firstborn Merab, and the name of the younger Michal. And the name of Saul's wife was Ahinoam, the daughter of Ahimaaz. And the name of the captain of his host was Abner, the son of Ner, Saul's uncle. And Kish was the father of Saul, and Ner, the father of Abner, was the son of Abiel. And there was sore war against the Philistines all the day of Saul. And when Saul saw any strong man or any valiant man, he took them unto him. End of Saul's story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it ends like that. That's why I read it. So it's giving you, it's not the end of Saul being in a story, but it's telling you, like, this is pretty much the end of Saul. Now you're getting ready to see other characters develop in a greater sense. And so it gives a summary of Saul and what he did. He did great things, right? He helped them and he fought and he was a valiant fighter, but he strayed away from Yah. And so it literally, his story ends between him and his son like this. Mm-hmm. And him and Samuel's relationship like that. And then in chapter 15, we're going to get his second sin. And then by chapter 17, we're in David and Goliath. So actually chapter 16 is where we're going to introduce David. So we're going to get Yah finally sealing the deal on Saul next week. And we're going to see how Yah had given him a lot of chances. He's going to actually give him another chance next week. Mm. He's Yah, and this is where Yah just floors me. Yah's going to go to Saul next week. You don't have sense enough to come to me.
Ooh.
I'm going to come to you.
You don't have sense enough to come
Yah comes to him and gives him one more chance. He's like, you know what? I got something else you can do. This is the easy one. You do this, you be good. We'll see what he does. See what he does.
And you know what? And something about when he called the fast in the middle, because I think we were talking about this morning, called the fast right in the middle of war. Deuteronomy 25:4 and 1 Timothy 5:18 says, muzzle not the ox while it's treading out the grain. Right. You got to be able to eat while you're working that hard. You treading out grain, or you warring. I need to be sustained. Mm-hmm. It's just
he cared more about himself than the people, because you would think, like we talked about this earlier today when you were saying that, and we talked about the idea that fast and pray before the battle, not in the battle. You don't go fight in the battle. You can't fast in the battle. You should have been preparing your heart before the battle. Right. So as Jonathan was seeking out Yah's way to bring the people out of these holes and out of their distress. But he wasn't sitting there. He was thinking about himself. It's fast so I could be avenged of mine enemies. In the middle. The Philistines are Yah's enemies.
It's ain't about you.
It's not exactly. So you can see that. And so it makes us take a step back and really look at that cognitive dissonance. I want us to really focus on that this week. And in the areas where we can't see ourselves in things. Being able to see yourself. When Yah is allowing you to see yourself, be able to see yourself and go into repentance, because we all win when we have repentant hearts. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
And so, if we are all on the same page and we're out on the battlefield and we have a heart of repentance, and we have a heart after Yah, and we're pursuing Yah, not waiting on Him to pursue us, but pursuing Him for right relationship with Him and then one another, then everything will work out and we'll stay high.
Because sometimes the very thing that irritates us about another person is something that we're not seeing about ourselves. Like, again, we're not introspecting. We're like that little backwards mirror thing. We keep looking at this person, but we don't see
that is
where we could be doing the same thing too, because that's why it's irritating.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. All right. So Shabbat Shalom. Next week will be
Shabbat Shalom.
Chapter 15. Thank you guys for all hanging in there through our technical difficulties. I am going to get it together, but I am definitely going to keep using another camera because I like it, and I think it works out good for you guys with how the quality of it. But I'll always run 2 backups, so you guys don't have to worry about being shut off, because I know it is distressing.
Yes.
And I don't want to call you undue stress. So I'm gonna this week actually get a plug-in charger for my camera, but I think we're gonna get it together. We're gonna get it together.
Hallelujah.
All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.